The definition of lobbying is the act of paying a professional advocate to argue for a specific legislation in Congress or a regulatory body. There are two types of lobbying in the United States. One is focused on legislators, and this is called the inside lobbying. The second focuses on the general public. This is called outside lobbying. Lobbying is made up of three groups. Specific interest, which can consist of corporations or other organizations that seek to benefit from legislation. The lobbyists themselves. According to the Washington Post, there's an estimated 13,700 registered lobbyists in D.C. The third group is legislators and regulators, which the lobbyists are trying to persuade. Lobbyists are usually lawyers and work for either a law firm or for a more specific lobbying firm founded by a former government employee. Some lobbying firms have been bought by large advertising firms. Lobbying in the United States is a billion-dollar industry. Lobbying in Washington cost $3.5 billion in 2010. Of the entities lobbying in Washington, corporations are the biggest spenders. Those that spend often are trying to sell to the government or obtain market advantage. Wall Street lobbyists spend upwards of $100 million in 1 year to sway regulators and policymakers. Lobbyists sway opinion by building close connections with government officials and by paying large sums of money to politicians' campaign finance.
The main problem with lobbying is the revolving door. This refers to when a politician becomes a lobbyist. Since 1980, legislators have been becoming lobbyists and making large sums of money. Essentially, after the legislator has gained even moderate seniority, they can work for the private sector as a lobbyist and make $1 million or more annually. The big problem with this is that it incentives politicians to become more interested in social interest groups than with the will of the people. As a result of this, politics has largely become an insider's game, where the opinions entrenched lobbying firms are important than those of regular citizens. Basically, there is a lack of public access to the government officials and the decision-making process. Some examples of poor decision-making includes blocking healthier school lunch options, which occurred because of a strong foothold lobby protecting corporate interests. Another problem with lobbying is foreign powers. Foreign powers are free to lobby the government. In 2010, foreign powers spent $460 million lobbying to Congress and the federal government. Between 2015 and 2017, Saudi Arabia paid $18 million to 145 registered lobbyists.
Here are some examples of corrupt lobbyist decisions that have happened over the years. In 1857, the New York Times published an expose of lobbying for the Pacific Railroad bill, charging that lobbyists had shaped the bill in order to pillage federal lands. This led to the expulsion of 4 members of Congress. In 1872, the New York Sun exposed the Credit Mobilier scandal, where railroad lobbyists provided stock to members of Congress to make them more likely to increase appropriations for the Transcontinental Railroad. In 1906, Cosmopolitan magazine published a series of exposés on the treason of the Senate, in which he accused prominent senators of representing special interests rather than public interest. The series contributed to the political pressure that resulted in the 17th Amendment, requiring senators be elected by the public rather than by state legislators. In 1913, the New York World ran an expose of questionable tactics by a lobbyist for the National Association of Manufacturers seeking to influence tariff rates. One member of the House resigned, and the House passed a bill requiring lobbyists to register with Congress. These are just a few of the worst scandals that have caused political turmoil because of lobbying.
In conclusion, lobbying takes average Americans out of the political equations. and leads to poor decisions that hurt the American